another gem that I take away from this is being intentional with who you pick as a partner, because the person you pick on day one, you still have to do life with them at day 200, day 400, day 1,000, and be strategic about dating. Be upfront about your intentions, I'll say, because Travis Hunter, I'm sure from when he started dating her, knew he was going to make it to the NFL. So he has to date with those intentions. So to our viewers, y'all probably not going to the NFL. I ain't going to the NFL either. But for those of us that are going to our respective careers, be intentional with your dating. Take this as a sign of what it might look like when you're not intentional with your dating, when you just date.
Welcome back to the KB Money Show. It's your boy KB, and I got my co-host Keon Barney. Episode 11. Let's get into it. How you doing? How was your week? What's going on? A lot has happened this past week. Obviously, we had Christmas, so we want to talk about that. So I'll open it up to you. What went well this week, and then just share some Christmas stories, anything that you want to talk about on that front.
And certainly, I had a great week. Christmas is always a good time for me, it's a good time to, it's always fun to give and receive gifts. But, as I'm gotten older, it's really just a good time to just spend that time with your family and just be appreciative that, you all are able to spend, however many of you are together, you're all able to have that time together. That's what I really enjoy about the time. And so I had an incredible week. We were, my wife and I were blessed to have her brother come visit us. So he's staying with us for a little bit. And so, we had the chance to show him around and drive through. And this is his first time seeing snow. So I remember my first time
Wow.
seeing snow. So it's quite an
Okay.
experience. So, I was just blessed to be able to share in that experience. And so I've had a great week so far.
Okay. On the money front, what any changes? Any because it's the money KB Money Show. Any changes? Any did you we got to keep it real for the people. Give me a second. We got to keep it real for the people. Hey, we know most people overspend during Christmas time and December, even for the folks that have good money management skills. I will even raise my hand. Sometimes we spend more than what we would prefer to as well. So none of us is immune to it. Some of us can get away with it a little more than others, but that's us keeping it real. So any stories around overspending during Christmas, or you was out and about and you saw something and you say, you know what, that'd be nice to get him or her or family, and you know that technically wasn't in the budget, but then you just made room for it in the budget and you just made the purchase.
Man, it's funny because once you make that transition, because I'm 23 now, I think maybe once you're 18, 19, you start to make that transition of okay, I'm no longer just a kid receiving gifts. Like okay, I got a part-time job. Maybe people starting expecting things in return. But for me, I don't know what it was, but it just seemed like this year Christmas just seemed very different to me. Like
Hmm.
I don't know if it just felt like if I felt like I was taking on a different role in Christmas in the way I celebrated Christmas. This was the first year where I could truly say I did not expect a single gift. Like, you know what I mean? This is the first year I
Hmm.
really just because even in the past, like it's like, oh man, I really don't expect a gift, but deep down, I really do. This is the first year where deep down, I really was just like, man, I'm really just looking around and just grateful. Like this was the gift to be able to spend it with my family and know that people made it here safely, know that my family in other parts of the world are enjoying it safely. And I was able to just shift my mindset from what other gift can I get to,
Hmm.
not to say that I wasn't thinking about gifts, because I'm still thinking about, okay, what are some useful things I can use as a man? I don't know, some clippers or something. I don't know, what can I get? But I was just thinking about this is the first Christmas where I really started thinking about, maybe how can I bless others and instead of myself. And in the past, we've kind of started to lean towards me and my partner. We tackled the gift buying together, and we started to lean towards the model of just when in doubt, gift card it out because it's so time consuming and so much thought that goes into picking gifts for people. And you don't want to pick the wrong gift. And we come from a household where our mother, her ministry is very much gift giving and just being cherishing and loving. And so as much as I want to carry on that ministry, I just when you get off work, I'm like, man, take this $20, take this $40 and go run and do what you want with it. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of more of the gift giver I am. But yeah, this year we've just kind of we trying to figure out how we want to approach, and that because now this is our first year married this Christmas. This is a different role, and so now it's trying to figure out how to tackle that as a married couple. We don't have any kids. We're not gonna have kids no time soon, so we're not even thinking about that. But like I was just thinking, maybe my younger relatives or just people in the community, like how can I go out and bless people for Christmas? If not with money, maybe with time, volunteering. I think that's just where my mind's at for this holiday season.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's real. It's so interesting. A lot of times it becomes about gifts and all of that. And as you get older, you just realize I like where you were saying, hey, I'm just glad everybody's healthy and strong. But all that sounds great, right? People still are expecting a gift. My
Right,
thing
right.
is I like the spirit of Christmas. How do we keep that spirit year round? Like the
Mm,
spirit of being kind, the spirit of maybe you might just pay for somebody that's behind you just because you in the Christmas spirit. How do you
mm,
carry that over consistently throughout all the seasons, throughout the year versus just one particular time? But just bringing it back to buying gifts, heck, I don't know about you, but growing up, and you would just get the most random gifts, and you'd be thinking to yourself, you just wasted your money. I don't even like this.
mm.
And so you might be thinking, dang, you're being ungrateful, but at the same time, you're genuinely just spending money to be spending money to say I got you something because I don't want it. Like I don't even want it. Like I'm not even gonna wear it. I'm not gonna use it.
Right.
And so for me, and even when it comes to I get you a gift, you give me a gift, and if it was 40, $50 and we doing the exchange, it's like, what was the purpose of that? We basically just traded $50 for $50,
Right.
and so it's just always interesting. It's always interesting for me. I hear you on the gift cards because I'm particular on what I want, and so when people try to get me things, I just don't want you to waste your money.
Right.
And also, I'm really not expecting anything. If you because I know like the more you expand your circle, the more you have your mom, your dad, your brother, your spouse, your cousins. Like it could start to get out of control, especially if you feel this pressure of needing to buy everybody gifts. But then it's like, and it's the way the culture is, where if you don't get anyone anything, you're like, well, dang, you being a Grinch, and it's like, well, am I? And maybe you might fall somewhere in the middle where you get a couple folks something, but it can quickly, if you're married, your in-laws, your parents, your spouse, and if you on a budget and maybe you trying to pay off debt, or maybe you have some other goals, maybe y'all getting ready to go on a trip in February or March, and so now you done got pulled into overspending for Christmas, and now it's taking you away from your goals in the upcoming year. So my biggest thing is always making sure, if you do go down that path, allocate the money if you can. It's not going to be perfect. You probably still going to overspend, but just be mindful. Just be mindful.
Right.
Uh, just the transition for me, just my week. My week was really good. I do want to make a correction. My math was off last week when it comes to paying down a mortgage. So the mortgage, I think I said 5 or 6 grand, but then when I was listening back, those numbers didn't add up. So so the mortgage was about 66,000, and then we paid off roughly about five. Paid off roughly about five, leaving it to a balance of 61. It's a little more than 61, but just 61 left. No changes, no changes yet. Getting ready to make another payment, but I'll update the folks next week on that. So I just wanted to make a correction if anyone was watching, like, man, your math is a little off, bro. I was just high pointing it. Yeah. But yeah, overall though, being present in, during Christmas time, because I know for me, I can easily find myself on my phone, or
Mm,
you there, but you're not there. And so I was very intentional when I went over the in-laws, just for this period of time, I'm gonna be present. We're gonna watch football games, or we're gonna spend time together, play games, whatever that is, and just be present in the moment. I'm not thinking about content creation. I'm not thinking about leveling up in my career. I'm not thinking about my health. I'm not thinking about growth, growth, growth.
right,
It's just being in the moment, enjoying the time. And then, once you leave, then of course it's back to business as usual, baby.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it. So life is great. Christmas was great, but just don't lose sight of gifts are great, but just having people and connections is better. And if you are on an extreme budget, what's the takeaway here is, hey, gift card, not gift card, send people cards. Send people cards and thoughtful put something thoughtful in the gift card in the card that might be meaningful to them, like just something personalized, hand touched that you wrote in there, and rock out like that. But just don't feel the pressure to have to spend money. So all of that is just that's the takeaway for our opening session, our opening monologue, when it comes to our updates, when it comes to the Christmas season. And now let's get into the show. Let's get into the show. All right, so I'm going to queue up something. So we got to keep talking about the money. I came across this one. I thought this was cool. Let me open it up real quick. All right. And this time around, I need to make sure I make my screen larger too, because I believe last time I didn't do that. All right, give me a second here. Queuing it up, queuing it up. Quick and share. We're gonna do okay. It's college season. We in the bowl games.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter. Can you see my screen?
I can see it now.
Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders. I'm grabbing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it now. I see the
All right.
Google.
Oh, we don't need to see Google. We need to see this one. There we go.
There, I can see the article.
All right. Y'all bear with me. We gonna get there. We gonna get there. Be patient with me. Be patient with me. All right. All right. There we go. Can you see it now?
Not yet. I think it's still loading.
All right. So still loading. Still loading. So we're gonna go application window. There you go. Should be queued up now.
There we go. I see your article.
The full article.
Yep, I see it.
All right, cool. All right, now let's get into it. Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders have insurance for bowl game to account for the financial risks. Because why? They go into the league.
Yep.
And so they are an asset. Now let's get into the article. So they're going to play in the Alamo Bowl. Well, first of all, Travis Hunter just won the Heisman. He a big dog.
Right.
Colorado, they've turned it around.
Yep.
Everybody going crazy about Colorado. So I love it. It's a great turnaround story. And also it's pretty cool to see how Dion turned it around and also had his sons playing with him. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people hating. A lot of people love it. It's good conversation. Reporters saying crazy things because they just straight up hating.
Yep.
And some unfair reporting just because they just because it's a different style. You know, in our culture, sometimes we do things a little bit different, and a lot of times it has a lot of flavor, a lot of style with it, and it's just different. And can you still see the article?
I can see it.
All right, so let's get into it. So the Alamo Bowl, the Alamo Bowl. Let me see. All right, so let's get into some of the detail. I won't cover all of it. We'll just cover some of the high points here. But it's Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter has suffered several injury scares during his college career. That's why it's important to have that insurance. Deion Sanders made sure they did that. And also, let me take a step back. What a lot of people, if you don't know, a lot of times some of the stars opt out of the bowl games, especially if they're getting ready to go to the league because they don't want to get injured.
Yeah.
And so it almost make you not even want to watch it
Mm,
just because the stars aren't even playing.
right.
Well, at Colorado, just the way their team culture is set up, all the stars, they're going to play. But Dion wanted to also make sure that they were taken care of on the back end as it relates to if something happened. Okay, so this article, and it's going to be in San Antonio, by the way. So this article, anyway, is going on to talk about some of Travis Hunter's previous injury scares during his college career, where if you remember last year, he had that lacerated liver when he got hit,
Yeah.
and it knocked him out of the game. He had shoulder issues, and there was some controversy around that. But then Travis dapped up Buddy and was like, "Hey, it's all good," you know. Uh, that's when they were. I think they were playing. I can't remember the game that they were playing, but anyway, so most people skip it like I mentioned. And so this is Hunter. I'm thankful for being able to play another game. Hunter said recently on his podcast, I don't think I could have went a whole nother month without playing football. So it sounds like they just love the game. They love obviously they love Dion, but they just love the game, right?
Yeah.
So it helps that Colorado has paid the premium on insurance policies to cover him and others in case they're injured in the Alamo Bowl. Yet history shows the many ways these policies can fall short when millions of dollars are at stake. Hunter's decision also adds fuel to the debate about whether an NFL team should allow him to play both ways like he want to. That's a whole nother conversation. Uh, we'll we'll see. It is really worth the risk of being permanently disabled and never achieving your dream of playing in the NFL or playing in a Super Bowl or signing several lucrative NFL contracts amounting to generational wealth just to play in the 2024 Alamo Bowl on Saturday, said Richard Giller, a renowned sports insurance recovery attorney in Los Angeles. Giller said in an email that there is absolutely no reason that Hunter should ever play in what amounts to a meaningless, non-playoff bowl game and risk his financial future to do so. Oh man, that's I hear you, Richard. I hear you.
Right.
I hear you. And then they just going on to talk the state of case from a previous athlete, and it's going on to talk about sometimes having to fight for insurance payouts. Travis Hunter, other risk concerns. Hunter is unique in that he plays nearly every play. Yeah, he does play a lot of downs too, because he's playing front side, he's playing offense and defense. So obviously there is an increase in being injured in that way as well. But at the end of the day, and now I'm gonna come off of that and stop sharing my screen and we're gonna talk about it. All right, so let me bring it back over here. And so now let's talk about it. I'm gonna open up to you just so when you hear that, I'm gonna go somewhere. So they are ensuring their future. My question to you is, how are you ensuring your future for generational wealth? That's the buzzword. Or do you even have life insurance? Do you have disability insurance in the event that you aren't able to make your money? You know we're gonna always bring it back to the money, and so I'm gonna open it up there, and then I'll kick it over to you and let you get your perspective from
For
reading the
sure.
article and the way I just opened it up.
For sure. I'm definitely not surprised that he's playing in that game. He's definitely needing a distraction, needing something to put his attention on. Not sure if you're aware with all the controversies going on with him right now, but yeah, he didn't deactivate his social medias and all that. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Yeah. 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 So when you hear about him putting they have insurance, where do you go? What are you thinking?
I would say I'm glad that I really like the way that the program operates with I like the way that Dion that seems like a very pro move. Like I like when you say that they are like say like risking their future because I heard like a while ago, maybe like a week ago, that he wanted to participate in a bowl game, but I didn't know that he would go on and put insurance, and I don't know if that was a thing that players would do for bowl games. I think it makes sense, especially if I mean it's different if it's like more of a tryout game, like if I'm as a player trying to get more film versus hey I already know I'm going first round. I probably wouldn't play in the bowl game if I was in that situation without insurance. I think that's a very smart decision.
Now, what about insurance for yourself? Because we always have to make it relatable. Sure, we're going to talk about these topics, but for the common person, most people aren't an athlete. So,
Mhm.
what about the insurance for you?
I would say
Like from your perspective, when you hear them being insured, how do you bring that down to the common person that's out here working a 9 to 5, looking to build wealth for themselves? How can they apply that to their lives? Or how do you think of it for your situation? Let me go there.
think about it as it's a unique situation when you're going to the NFL and that, they're about to earn so much money. There's only there's not that many opportunities in America to earn that amount of money in such a short time span. And so I think about it where he's essentially going to be the breadwinner. And so I think of it
Mm,
as whenever you're the breadwinner, you have to make sure that, part of the responsibility of being a leader, we're talking about teams, but specifically you're talking about a relationship or a family household. If you're the breadwinner or one of the breadwinners, that means that if something were to happen to you, the ship might sink. The ship's probably going to sink if you don't have a plan in place. So for me, like the correlation here is like if something were to happen to Travis, he snaps an ankle and he don't have the insurance, he's just SOL. He's like, dang, he's gonna be a could have been, a Heisman
mm.
would have been. And so for you, you got to make sure that your family isn't a what we could have been if our breadwinner stayed alive. You have to put a plan in place to where if something even happens to you, they can just they'll grieve. But we talked about this before. They'll have the room to just grieve and not have to worry about how to pay the mortgage the next day.
Man, that's deep. So I know that's going in the life insurance side of things, right? But we
Mhm.
always have to find a way to tie it back to the money. And so I like where you're going with that. They also have disability insurance that you can get into, like if you operate with your hands, your earning potential. So what's the takeaway here? You like, what are you guys talking about? Y'all talking about Travis Hunter, y'all talking about football, you talk about getting insured. Here's the money tip. So think about this at your job right now. Usually at most jobs, if you're working a 9 to 5, we talking to folks that work a 9 to 5. Usually you can opt into your company benefits where you have disability insurance. So that would be your disability insurance. So when you're out on the field in corporate America, because you are a corporate athlete, right? And so you need to make sure to look at your benefits to make sure that you've opted into your disability insurance. So in the event you get injured in the field of play, meaning in your day to day, inside of work, outside of work, where you have to be disabled for a little bit, at least a portion of your income will still be coming in as you're navigating your injury and getting
Mhm.
better and getting better and back to 100%. So that's the takeaway on that. Any closing thoughts on that?
I just send thoughts and prayers to Travis Hunter. I really want to see what he does in the NFL. I think that
Yeah,
he'll be a great player, whatever position he decides to do. I'm just curious to see, where he's going to spend more of his snaps, offense or defense. I'll be following along.
yeah, yeah. All right, so let's keep going. Let's keep going. So we had to, we had to talk about it just because it has come up. All right, so I'm about to cue it up. And this one is kind of crazy, man. This one is kind of interesting, but we gonna talk about it. So I found this one on Yahoo. So I'm pulling up now, pulling it up on Yahoo. That's three. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. Staying along the lines with Travis Hunter. There's some controversy with his boo, man. A lot of people got a lot to say. We're gonna talk about it, but we're gonna share our opinion on it. So there's Travis Hunter and his girl, as you alluded to earlier. A lot of athletes has been coming out speaking about it, about Travis Hunter and his girl and how she trying to just get the bag and how she wasn't interested in him initially, left him on red in her DM, all of that juicy gossipy thing that this type of stuff happens in relationships. He just happened to get ready to be walking into a lot of money, right? Well, a picture got leaked. So the man behind Travis Hunter's fiance, there we go. The man behind Travis Hunter's fiance, Liana Lene, viral photo says he waited for a right moment to release it.
This
That's the picture right there.
is crazy.
That's the picture. You know the infamous butt shot, right? The infamous tooted up picture. But yeah, so a recently circulated photo of Leanna Travis' fiance has drawn attention not for his content, but for the timing and motives behind its release, which sparked a lot of conversation. However, the man admitted to intentionally waiting for what he described as the right moment to release it, hinting at plans to profit from the situation, including producing merchandise related to the drama.
Wow.
The man, in a series of disjointed, cryptic statements, attempted to explain his actions. Well, I'm torn. It was like 2021, so it's 2024 now. So that was 3 years ago. Bro, he was in high school in 21. He said, appearing to reference a year when the photo was taken. So let me get out of that and bring it back to us. Bring it back to us. Some additional context. So it was so much controversy around it. So many people were weighing in. And probably Travis Hunter was wanting to, protect his girl, which you should. And people were saying he should leave her, should not talk to her. She just trying to get a meal ticket. She just trying to get paid, run ASAP. And so we live in a social media world where
Sorry.
you're human and this can impact you. It can impact your mental health if you allow it to, all the things. And so it looks like he was getting ready to it looked like he crashed out and like just deleted all his stuff. And maybe that was a good thing, right? Before you do something that can impact your future.
Right.
The last thing I'll say is I did remember watching the game, and I remember she was going off on him or going off on him on the sideline, which
Mm,
you have to protect the bag at all costs. And when you are in public and this can impact your money, sometimes we got to keep home business, and say, hey, look, when we go out in this public, we're not gonna say anything crazy on social media. We're not gonna be out here. We're gonna be low key. We're gonna do what we need to do. We're gonna have a PR team and we're gonna navigate this accordingly. But all that sounds great. But when the emotions
mm,
kick in and you see people going off on each other during a game, it's not a good look, especially when you're in the spotlight. I don't know what it's like to be in the spotlight. So it's easy for people to say, well, I would have did this or I would have did that or I would have left. Like, you should act this way, but you're not under that type of spotlight. And so I like to always look at both sides. And my thing is in relationships, you just got to be on the same page. And I personally wouldn't feel comfortable if my wife was out on social media all the time just talking. And it doesn't mean that she can't talk, can't speak for herself, but we would operate as a unit. I'm because when she says something, that could enhance the money or impact the money. So we need to make sure we are being strategic with our moves. But I'll open it up to you, Keon, let you weigh in on this controversial topic. I think that they're just young and they'll figure it out or not, but it's his decision to make on whether he should be with her or not. I don't think it's anyone else's decision.
Man, I think that this is one of the most. It's funny. It's controversial. It's big headlines, but if you really break it down, it's one of the more educational. Like if you really look at it from that angle, there's so many gems you can pick up from this situation. Like especially if because we usually talk to people in relationships, people that's looking to steer their relationships toward the right direction. And so not to piggyback and kick beat a dead horse, and laugh at them some more. But like you said, they're young. They're both new to this. Neither one. This is his first time winning the Heisman. This is her first time being with a Heisman winner. You know what I'm saying? This is brand new to them. They're young. I can't believe I'm older than them. Like it's crazy. I'm 2 years older than their elder. So it's crazy to think that
Mm,
way. But they're still think about it. These are college students. Think about the drama you had in college. And
facts.
imagine, you know what I'm saying? So think about like these are people that are 2 years removed from high school. And so with that being said, I agree with everything you said in the sense that, okay, cool. We're not just boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. Technically we are, but okay, we kind of said that we want to be more than that. We've gotten engaged and this and that. So like you said, there becomes a point in time where, like I said, you got to start figuring out how to move as a unit. And and sometimes when I see the interactions that I see, kind of like you say, I get indications that they're not moving as a unit. And again, we're preferring this. And we're not relationship experts, but we can see things. And so like there's instances where like you say she's saying things. There's instances where he's alone. He's a streamer. He's doing what we're doing. He's in front of a camera. He's streaming. He's talking about stuff going on with her. And people in the comments saying like, "Man, Travis, take this down. You shouldn't be saying that." And so it's just a
Mm,
lack of a PR lens. It's a lot of just you can tell emotional, young. Who knows? I can imagine the emotional highs that come with that life. One day I'm winning a Heisman. I'm doing the pose. The next day, social media is kicking my back in. Y'all are already trashing me saying I shouldn't have won the Heisman. Okay, cool. We can argue
mm,
on that, but now y'all throwing in all this personal stuff. Like I can't imagine what's on his plate right now. But
yeah.
once something that made me laugh or a post that I saw, it said I was laughing real hard at Travis Hunter till I remember when I was in my Travis Hunter phase, and I was like, okay, that's funny. That's funny. We might have to break that down on the show. And so I don't know. I was talking about all the gems you could take from this, learning how to operate as a couple in public, like that. What you were talking about. And another gem that I take away from this is being intentional with who you pick as a partner,
Mm,
because the person you pick
mm,
on day one, you still have to do life with them at day 200, day 400, day 1,000, and you're not just dating and engaged to and married to the person you pick it on day one. You have to try to. I mean, I don't know. None of us are perfect, but you got to think about it. We're both going to grow, and so you got to be strategic about dating. Be upfront about your intentions, I'll say. Because Travis Hunter, I'm sure from when he started dating her, knew he was going to make it to the NFL. So he has to date with those intentions. So to our viewers, y'all probably not going to the NFL. I ain't going to the NFL either. But for those of us that are going to our respective careers, be intentional with your dating. Take this as a sign of what it might look like when you're not intentional with your dating, when you just date. You get what I mean? And
yeah.
when you're young, that's cool. But as we get older and decide to drop on one knee and engage and propose to people, now you're putting pressure on yourself. We probably wouldn't even have half of these conversations if they weren't engaged, or if they weren't.
Mm,
I don't want to say if they're so public. I'm not going to blame them for being public, but another takeaway is sometimes privacy is vital to a relationship. Everybody does
mm.
not need to have access to y'all. Everyone does not need to be in y'all's business. And so I'll leave it there. But what do you think?
Man, okay, you took it there. I was okay. So a lot of our viewers are men, so I'm going to talk to the men and if some ladies listening, listen in. Maybe you might learn something from it too.
Show your brothers or your husband or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So one of the things that Now, I will admit, I had my version of Travis Hunter during my college years, of just not being intentional, just doing a bunch of random stuff. So that's where I understand. And you're young, because what happens a lot of times, I'm almost 40, so I'll be 40 this upcoming year. What happens a lot of times when people get older, then they look back at people that's like 20 years or 15 years younger than them, and they're like, I would never do that. And this and it's like, you did some, you did your version of that when you were that age, and so all of a
Yeah.
sudden you've gotten older, and now you just don't remember any of that, right? Like y'all was going crazy, but you don't remember any of it now, right? But I will tell you this: if I was talking to my younger self, but some of the things that I did get right, because I want to focus on the part where you mentioned choosing the right partner, and this is tied to the money. If you don't choose the right partner and you have a partner that's toxic with money, even when you're trying to, I don't toxic, I don't really dysfunctional, don't financially illiterate, don't want to work with you or not working with you, y'all not on the same page. You have to get on the same page. And a part of being on the same page is how you present yourselves out in the public, because if you are a corporate athlete, when you start leveling it up in corporate America, their leadership is looking at how you are operating in your personal life. Like, okay, with do you have drama going on to where you're coming to the parties where it's drama? You don't think that that's going to impact your career in some form? Or are you the single guy that's out there mingling, talking to all the women, but then the leadership folks, they married? And so do you think they want you around their wives? So like there's a lot of underlining things
That's
there.
funny.
And there's also studies out there that people are taking a lot more serious when they're married in corporate America as well. Because they're now it might be subliminal where there's a level of responsibility typically when folks are married that's there, and seriousness that also translates over into the corporate space as well, and some seriousness there. I'm not saying it's perfect. You might agree or disagree, and this is not really to bash anyone that's single. That's not really the intent there. But just there's so many multifaceted things to think about that if I'm talking to my younger self of like, hey, don't be out here just playing around, just you don't have to get married tomorrow, but like if you find that person, hey, what are you waiting on? But how you choose your partner is important as well. I'll just point it at me. One of the things what was important to me was, I'm gonna say it out loud. One of the things was I intentionally I didn't date women that knew B-side rap songs. Like B-side, like the deep B-side rap song, because I like
You were playing
you know
songs in the
more,
car trying to test them out, seeing if they was gonna sing it, trying to vet them out.
you know more of the lyrics than I know. No knock.
That's
I'm just not interested.
funny.
Two, I always paid attention to their social media presence. If they
Mm.
were always on social media doing the butt back shots, like just needing to be seen, thirst trapping, like just some really provocative pictures and all of that, and just the frequency on how much you're on social media. That's giving me that doesn't make you a bad person, but that's giving me some insight on how you move, how you operate. And usually from what I've seen, a lot of times when I seen folks that were on social media, the IG doing the DMs and doing all of that, it was, you didn't like my post. Why didn't you like
Hmm.
my post? Why did you like his post? Why did you like her post? And all of that is absolute nonsense. Three, how are they with their family? Are they loving with their family? How do they how are they with men? Are they just really negative towards men? meaning probably had a lot of bad experiences, hadn't got over the previous experiences. And so now they're bringing it into that scenario, regardless on how beautiful they look, there's a lot of healing that needs to happen. And this isn't to bash women. I'm just telling you, I'm a man. And so these were some of the things I look for. And I'm gonna reverse it for the ladies that's watching. Maybe you got a man that, maybe you have some men that's not mature in that way as well, where they got some emotional healing that they need to work on, and they're bringing that drama to you. You don't have to deal with that either. So like having some standards and not and deciding, do I want to deal with this or not? The last one, find how they manage their finances.
Mm,
Not in any order of priority, but how they manage their finance. Are they absolutely horrible with their money management? Not a deal breaker. However, are y'all willing to work? Are you seeing them willing to work to improve it? Because a lot of us come from backgrounds where we just didn't know, and that's
yeah.
okay. But are you seeing them when as you're having these conversations with them? Maybe y'all, if y'all are talking, maybe y'all take a class together and keep your finances separate, but at least start having those more healthy conversations around money to where it's like, okay, well, they are open to improving. So it's not a deal breaker. But I just got to tell you, if you fast forward 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you get married, all the signs were usually always there. You just chose to ignore them because of love. Love might get you there, but it ain't gonna keep you there. It's the day to
Mm,
day, the money management, the loving on each other, the healthy habits, the communication, the growing together, the working through your finances. And what people don't realize, poor finances, because we're gonna always tie it back to the money. And we talking about relationships, moving away from Travis Hunter. Money is just a symptom of money issues are just a symptom of other things that's going on. So like we married, so we're talking in that terms. So for the folks that's out there that's your future goal, please work on your finances with your future person and start have those conversations early and often. And even if it's someone that you're dating and you don't even know if y'all may take it there, talk about finances. Talk about finances and how is this related to the Travis Hunter story is you got to talk about the money. You can't mess up the money. The money is usually what messes things up. And because it causes so much stress, check to check, pressure, doing life together, it could be a beautiful thing, but life is long. It's two different people coming together. And so don't let money be one of the things that's causing the stress in your life. Actively work together to navigate that. I've seen scenarios where no matter how much, hey, take a course. Hey, I mean, this is not, I don't really want to endorse anybody, but like for us, I will say this. Me and my wife, we took Financial Peace University. It was the best. Even till this day, my wife said, I'm so glad you signed us up for that. And it's because it was the topic around money, but what it did for us, really, it helped add depth to our conversation, our communication, our relationship, our connection. And it just happened to be the subject was talking about money. And so what a lot of times on the surface when like people saying, hey man, got this issue going, I'm like, just take this course. I don't want to do that. I'm past that. It's too basic. No, you're think bigger. Like think beyond just the immediate. Understand this is an opportunity for y'all to have strategic date nights around the budget and y'all just spending time together talking about things, and because what'll end up happening, it'll start to permeate into other areas as well. So maybe it's finance this time and y'all get a consistent flow around that, but then it turns into talking about other things as well, because now y'all have added depth to your communication, to your connection. I'm not a dating guru or anything like that, but I could just only talk about what has worked for me. And you don't have to be married to start having those conversations and seeing if this the right person for you or not. Just swinging it around to what you were saying, like you choosing the right person. So this is the real talk that needs to happen versus the surface level. You got a big bud, or he got, or he in shape and he cut. and he looked good. He got a nice body. She got a nice body. We got to get past that surface level and the things that is going to be required on a day to day. We got to make sure we vet those out.
Certainly.
Yeah. All right. So let's transition. We're gonna transition over to we're gonna swing it away from relationships and the money because that's important. If your relationship is trash, your money is just not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So now we're gonna swing it over to the IRS is giving some money away. Let's talk about it. Can you see my screen?
I can see it.
All right. So the IRS is giving
It's
money away.
blocked by the ad though. It has two ways to read this article.
But you can't see it?
Nah.
They're trying to block me. They're blocking me.
Uh-huh.
They're blocking me. Hold on a second. We gonna get there. USA Today. Let's go to we gonna swing it over to CSNBC. Yeah, CNBC, sorry. The IRS is sending
Start the share again. Hmm.
you say it's not let me see here.
Nah, it was still on Washington Post.
Okay, give me a second here. Come out of there. Come back. All right, so now here we go. All right, you should see it now. The IRS is sending up to $1,400 to 1 million Americans how to know if you qualify. And where this come from? The IRS service is sending up to $1,400 who qualified for COVID-19 stimulus checks in 2021 but didn't claim them. Keon, did you claim your stimulus check? Get that
I'm,
1,400?
I'm about to go hit my statement and see what happened that year. Shoot.
In an unusual move, the IRS is proactively issuing payments to taxpayers who missed claiming the recovery rebate credit, a tax credit that allows people to receive the economic impact payments, also known as STEMI checks. They missed it in 2021, originally designed as a self-claimed credit. The agency is now ensuring eligible taxpayers receive the payments they are entitled to. That's interesting. IRS trying to get money. Uh, Looking at our internal data, we realized that 1 million taxpayers overlooked claiming this complex credit when they were actually eligible. IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel said in a press release, to minimize headaches and get this money to eligible taxpayers, we're making these payments automatic, meaning these people will not be required to go through the extensive process of filing an amended return. Yeah, that's a pain in the butt. If you haven't filed a 2021 tax return yet, you can still qualify for the credit, but you must do so by April 15th, 2025, according to the IRS. Okay. Hey, did you STEMI checks? So still might be an opportunity to get STEMI checks. Um, you might want to check it out to see. Hey, my thing is if they giving it out and they saying it's out there for you and maybe you forgot to file, it's this opportunity to get some of that money. What are your thoughts on that, Ken?
Man, I don't know. If I first saw the headline, I heard it and I was like, I don't want none. It sounds like a trap, but this seems really rare. I'm just I'm curious on what initiated this, and I guess I'm curious on the follow through. I want to see how many people actually claim like, oh, I saw the money hit my account. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, you're right. So just bringing it to folks' attention because I know a lot of this news coming out. So a part of it is us helping you stay up to speed with some of the things that's going on around money. So if you get a random check, that's what it's from. But I'm like you, Ken. I'm usually super skeptical when the government start giving money out. I'm like, okay, what is the catch? What is this about? What is this for? Who did you take too much money from?
Right.
From taxes. What, just trying to understand. But yeah, that's where my mind go. But then also, just to be transparent, I've said it in previous podcasts, the government is not going to save you. I will be honest, $1,400 or $1,500, if you need that to survive, because I had this thought even when they were making the payments back then. If you need 14, $1,500, you got a bigger issue. Because in my head, I was thinking 14, $1,500, that might be someone's rent without all the other ancillary bills that they have. So how is that helping you long term?
It's not. It's helping somebody else.
If you had a $1,400 shortfall, there's a bigger issue, whether it's an income issue,
Mm.
there's something off. Now, granted, I'm not saying don't take the money, but you still need to do a self assessment and say, okay, I'm like stressed out and I really, 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 really need this money. What is it about the way my life is set up right now where I don't have that type of money coming in on a consistent basis? And not just that amount of money, like more money, because things are more expensive. And so if you're needing that, because the way they was marketing it at that time, it was almost
Mhm.
like that was going to be the savior for Americans. And they was
Right.
toting it around like the best thing ever. I'm not saying that it wasn't bad. I'm like, all right, shoot, send the people some money. But at the
Right.
same time, understand that's tax dollars, but understand, does that really move the needle for you? I remember at the time, Dave Ramsey got a lot of flack. He was like, if you are dependent on that check, you broke. You broke. And so that was a bit more out there with a comment, but I don't necessarily disagree with that.
Right.
I don't disagree with that. I know a lot of times it's hard to hear the truth, but sometimes I know for me, the 40-year version, well, almost 40. Oh, wait, I ain't gonna claim that just yet. I mean, we're at 39 right now. Like, we're gonna stay in the 30s right now. The 39-year-old version talking to the 20-year-old, 21-year-old version, or 22-year-old version, I would want it real, real raw and just a straight up honest truth on how the world works out here, and someone giving it to me straight so I can improve my finances. And heck, and maybe it's not the 39-year-old talking to the earlier version of myself. Hey, maybe you 35, maybe you 40, 45. Got to do more. Got to do more. They call it the be, do, have. You have to be more, be better, do more, which will cause you to do more, and then you will have more. And it's just really around the mindset, be, do, have. That's the whole concept of it. And maybe you need to be more than what you are today to improve your financial situation. Maybe you are making good money, but you check the check. There's stats out there that people that make six figures are check to check, and it's not a disrespect, it's not a judgment. It's just the realities. And where I've worked, I've seen. You could just listen to conversation. I have an ear for check to check now. Even when they're not saying I'm check to check, I have an ear for it now. And hey, that's people. We all can do whatever we want to do. I don't speak unless I'm being asked. I'm not giving advice unless I'm being asked. And I never claim to be the guru. I just know what's working for me in my life. And so I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna stay on my journey. And when people ask, hey, what's working for you in that area? I see that. I share it with you. If it resonate, hey, maybe try to implement some of it. If it don't, throw it away and pretend like you never heard it. But all I can tell you is check to check is not the way, and $1,500, even at that time in my head, I was thinking that's not gonna solve anything. What's your closing thoughts on that,
I
Keon?
don't know. When your account got $4.50 until payday, 1,500 sound like it do stretch, but it sounds like it. But I agree with you. But I'll say, okay, now in retrospect, we can look back on it as a little weird, I'm gonna trying to put my tinfoil hat on, but I'm trying to figure out what was really the purpose of that. And I just land on two things. One is it wasn't really meant for the people that they was giving the money to. It was meant for the people that it was meant for where the money was gonna eventually go. It was
Mm,
meant for the businesses to have. It wasn't really meant. They knew well, it's like giving candy to a baby in the sense like, well, yeah, I know the baby's gonna eat it. I don't know if you've seen that marshmallow experiment where you leave a kid in the room with the marshmallow. They left us in the room with 1,500 marshmallows, and so okay, keep the tinfoil hat on with me. Option number two. It also made me think. Now, was that like a government test run to see like, we're not gonna call it welfare. We're gonna call it stimulus, and we're gonna see how receptive the public is to just getting
mm,
welfare. But let's give it another name because welfare got a connotation to it. But stimulus don't. Don't you want to be stimulated? And so, all right, let's take tinfoil hat off, take it off, throw it away. But that's just where my mind's at. But it both lead to what you're saying though. The government's not going to save you. If it sounds like the government's doing something to save you, be skeptical and figure out a way to save yourself.
mm. Hey, that's a mic drop right there, man. Hey, that's a mic drop. Wow. Speaking of the government and the presidents, I got another story for us. So I'm going to do a quick screen share just to cue it up, and then we'll unshare, and then we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Can you see my screen?
I can see it.
Which which one?
Oh,
T.
it just switched to the ad now, but I saw that I was seeing the original before.
What do you see right now?
It's showing me two ways to read the article now on Washington Post.
You
You
see
trying to get
Washington
paid?
Post?
Yeah, I see two ways to read the article, subscribe or something like that.
Man, they killing me with the they killing me. They killing me.
Trying to get you.
Hey, they trying to get me, but we gonna get there. All right. Tell me what you see now. Yeah. All right. Trump says he intends to fire federal workers who don't return to the office.
Mm,
Can you see it?
I can see it. Wow.
Trump said he gonna get you up out of there.
Wow.
Now, let's get into it before you cuss me out, before you get mad at me. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear the article out. This ain't me pleading the case one way or the other. All right. President-elect Donald Trump plans to fire federal workers who don't return to the office. He told reporters during a December 16th press conference at Mar-a-Lago, if people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed. Somebody in the Biden administration gave a 5-year waiver of that so that for 5 years, people don't have to come back into the office. It's ridiculous. So it was like a gift to a union, and we're going to obviously be in court to stop it. Trump's comments follow a few weeks after Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy proposed heads of the future Department of Government Efficiency, published on Code, published an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal calling for a federal RTO return to office to spur voluntary resignations.
And can I ask you something?
Yeah,
Okay, in 2008, I was just 7. I was watching SpongeBob. I think he was in college around that time. So in
yep,
2008, okay, there was a housing crisis and whatnot. I think that was a symptom, though, correct? That it was just a lot of money issues waiting to happen, and that kind of was like what set it off. Am I
right.
accurate? I'm surmising it. I'm saying I'm bringing up to say,
The housing market crash.
what is the real issue? I keep hearing remote. I'm not saying because it's easy to dismiss like, oh, they bring up this remote stuff again. But I think where there's smoke, there's fire. So I
Mm,
don't know if remote work is the issue, but what is the issue? Is there a product? Is there a real productivity issue? Is America getting lazy? Because I don't know if the issue is exactly remote work. What's the issue? I think there's talks of a depression, but Nike and now the federal government, like what is going on? And I think remote work is being used as a scapegoat. I think there's a bigger issue going on though.
Hey, we might have to do a deeper dive. What I will tell you is this, and this is we again, we're not economists. We just live in life. We exploring these topics together, and we bringing them to you as we are on our journey, learning more and more learning in life and experiences. So just providing that preface there. So speaking of 2008, 2009, 2010, just my journey of working before we was in that office.
Hmm.
Wasn't a thing, wasn't a big deal. That's just what it was, right? Just working. Then all the way up. Now, I will call there was a folks that were in tech, like
Hmm.
IT professionals, to be honest, a lot of them were still and a lot of them were in office too, but that industry was a little bit more known for being remote than some of the other industries, just
Hmm.
because of the nature of their work. The fast forwarding to the pandemic. The pandemic happened, and it was, and for all intents and purposes, an emergency. You were impacted because they kicked y'all out of school. They like, hey, y'all, like it impacted your whole academic situation. I remember when I was in school, we in class, no online, all the things, right? But then y'all were in Philly, and they told y'all, hey, we don't know what y'all gonna do, but y'all got to get out of here. We gonna do online, and so you actually came and stayed with us
Yep.
to navigate, and so that was an interesting time. And prior to that, and that's just on the school front, but for us, I was in office every day before the pandemic, every single day. Now, sure, we have flexibility. Like if you need to go run an errand, go run an errand. You need to work from home here and there. Not a big deal, but the expectation was to be in the office, and it wasn't necessarily a dictatorship. It just that was the culture. We went into the office. Now, I will say, like I said in previous times, there's a lot of time wasted in the office. A whole lot of time. You
Mm.
get there, especially like if you work in like 9 to 5, you get there at 9. I'm gonna say this again. For me, you get there at 9, folks are getting coffee, getting coffee. So that puts you at 9:15, 9:30. You're talking. Then you finally have maybe your first team meeting. Maybe it's close to 10. Now you have from 10 to 10:30. Then you go back to your office. Then people are stopping by your office talking, and you in between trying to do something. And before you know it, it's lunch. So you've been at work 10, 11, 12. You can be at work three hours, 3.5 hours, and you really ain't hadn't got much done yet. Now it's time to go to lunch. And so now that puts you at 1:30. And then you're just doing it all over again. And that's a bit of somewhat of an exaggeration, but it's not too far from the truth because I just remember, and then we're not talking about the commute time to and from work. But that just was the norm. That was the norm at that time. Pandemic happens, a lot of people started working from home, and what happened was people got comfortable. People like, oh, I like how
Hmm.
this feel. Oh, I could be in my pajamas and just have a top. Like I can have a dress
Yep.
shirt on and a sports coat,
Yeah.
and then I got on my pajamas underneath. And
Yeah.
so people got accustomed to that. Also, people also saw that commute time cut down. They started saving money on gas, and they
Yeah.
didn't have to do that. But then also what happened was the people uh, that would drop their kids off, now they didn't necessarily have to. Sometimes because they work from home, they didn't have to drop their kids off as much. Now they're washing laundry, watching the kids, working, saving money. So there's a lot of mixed things going on. And so now you're in the comfortability of your house. But here's the other thing. If you're remote, if you're in a high cost of living area, Guess what else you can do? You can move. You don't have to be by the office no more. So maybe
Mm,
you go stay in a low cost of living state. Even like you might even be able to finesse it to that degree. And
mm,
so now you don't even live in the same area anymore.
mm,
Or you live way in the outskirts. Maybe you are still in the same surrounding area, but like you live in the outskirts, that's a lot cheaper because now you don't have to come to work. You don't have to commute every day. So you don't have a commute, but now you don't move 2 hours away or an hour and a half away. That's so now the company saying, yeah, it was cool, but we want to get back to what we were doing because here's the other thing people don't think about. On the business side, they got these leases that they're paying for, these corporate leases that they're paying for all this space, and no one is in the building. But then also, a lot of times there's some behind the scene business things happening with the states where they're working with the state to have certain space downtown because they promised the state economic stimulus, economic growth by all of the employees that's going to be commuting into work. And so it's going to stimulate the local economy. They're going to, during breakfast, coffee, they're going to go and get coffee. They're going to get breakfast. They're going to get lunch. And they're going to go and shop at businesses these local businesses and generate money for the local economy. Well, if no one is driving in downtown, that revenue isn't being generated because folks aren't out spending money and out having lunch together and aren't stimulating that local city. And so there's a lot that's happening on that side too. And so and you have this push and pull of I don't want to go back into the office. I ain't going back into the office. And so now
mm.
the other part too is making folks come back into the office. It's a strategic way to have a layoff without announcing layoffs because some people are just going to rage quit
Yeah.
because it just doesn't fit for their scenario and they're not going to do it and they're not mad that you're not going to do it. They and so but now they don't have to pay you severance package for the
Mm.
layoff because you're voluntarily quitting. And so now that's allowing them to weed out people as well through layoffs. I know that gave you a long story, a lot of different angles and scenarios. So it's at the net of it, and I'll let you chime in here. Nobody cares about your personal situation and how it's an inconvenience for you. Nobody cares about it being an inconvenience for me, like me. The company don't care about that. They care about the revenue. They care about the profits. They care about moving their company forward with or without you. My question is, like the way my mind is thinking, for the folks that's flexible, that's a competitive advantage for you to potentially level up, potentially if you want to keep making good money and you do have some flexibility, go back into the office. I mean, sure it'd be inconvenience, but there's many things that we've done that's inconvenient. But the one thing that I always say is never, ever, ever mess up the money because of you doubling down and saying, I ain't doing that. If you don't have other sources of income set up, like, don't be foolish. Like, maybe that's motivation to where you feel like you don't have options. Maybe that's motivation to create another stream of income because you don't feel like you have the choices. Play the long game and you're like, you know what? I don't like how this feel. I'm gonna create me another stream of income so when other scenarios like this come up, I can just say, you know what? I ain't doing that. But what's happening is you have a lot of people that's making demands and they don't their financial situation is not set up as they can just say, you know what? I'm not doing that. Like, don't put your family at risk. Don't put yourself at risk if you're not ready yet. Let it just be motivation. If you just have a adverse, like you are in your body, in your spirit, when you just like, I don't want to do that. And in a short period, you might have to. Like we got these are the things you can't be making them. You got to make a business decision and play the long game. It don't have to be forever, but don't put yourself in a financial deficit just because you're being stubborn. If that's the direction that the company's going, and or go to another company that does have a preference to remote work. You have options. Don't be a victim.
I agree. And something that you touched on. So you talked about how people are saving money, on gas, on not having to do the commute. So I'm thinking on, okay, cool. We don't just exist in a vacuum. If they're saving money, that means somebody's losing money. And so that's got me thinking like,
Mm,
zoom all the way out. Why does Trump care about who's remote and who's not? And do you know what I'm saying? And it makes me think, who does care about remote being a thing or not? If I'm a manager, okay, I really just care about results.
right.
Okay, maybe I do have a building that I need to pay for and justify paying for, but as someone who's worked in sales, when y'all up, you can justify a lot of things. So what? We won. We hit the numbers. You can kind of tell the board to, shut up for another year. But what I'm thinking about is this remote transition must really be hurting several industries. I can think of gasoline has to be hurting when you're used to people
Mm,
driving 5 days a week versus now I only got to drive two, or I don't have to drive at all. And you haven't filled up your tank in 2 3 weeks versus you had to fill it up twice a week. Oh yeah, someone's hurting off of that. And so someone that's way above me and you and our bosses is going to our boss's boss saying, hey, we got to figure out something about this. This ain't, yeah, we got to get them back in the office. Do what you got to do. Click. And so that's what I'm thinking.
so me hearing you talk, because you bringing this Ivy League part to the conversation. No, I'm joking, but so it could be where you have politicians communicating to CEOs and they're behind the scenes having these conversations,
Mm,
talking about this like, hey, y'all promised us so much revenue to the local
mm,
city and economy, and y'all aren't delivering, and we made it available for you to buy these acres of land or buy these buildings or
mm,
pledge this whatever the agreement was. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. So I love how you're saying click out more and just think about the bigger picture. And it's just educational for you of like, okay, let me get out of my own feelings and what I'm feeling some type of way about. What is the bigger picture here? But even understanding the bigger picture, don't disrupt your finances when you know you can go back into the office and it might just be temporary until you find your next thing. But if you're making good money, you doing your thing, don't be foolish. Don't be foolish. And you know
right,
you don't have financial independence yet. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do it.
right.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Speaking of don't do it. Transition. Transition. You like how I did that, right? Speaking of don't do it. Moving this over here. Speaking of don't do it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Boeing.
Talking about Boeing. Yeah.
Boeing CEO tells staff, hey, I'm
Oh,
working on my
God.
cussing, but hey, he said it. I didn't say it. Boeing CEO tells staff to stop bitching by the water cooler and focus on beating Airbus. This is a Fortune magazine. And in case y'all haven't known, Boeing has been having some issues, some big time
Yes.
issues, some layoffs, and a lot of things. But let's get into the article. Kelly Ober took over the top job at embattled
Hmm.
playmaker Boeing a little over 3 months ago, and it appears he's not massively impressed with some aspects of the company's culture, because that's what we're talking about here, company's culture.
So could you imagine? if Obama, I'm not saying he's the greatest president or did great, but could you imagine in 2008, he's finally elected and he comes in and tells the citizens, hey, can y'all stop bitching at the water cooler and start making more money and improve the economy? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what do you mean? You are a ruler. You're the president. You're the CEO. You run the strategy here. I know that you're new here. I get the idea of you're walking into a new situation, but that's what you want your first impression, our first impression of you to be, that you think we're bitching. That's what I'm thinking.
Man, okay, so I'm gonna keep going. Sound like they got a reaction from the Gen Z. So we gonna keep going. In a all hands meeting this week, gave his staff some brutal feedback, telling them to cut back on complaining and focus on beating competitor Airbus. Don't sit at the water cooler and blame about people, told his colleagues. According to a meeting, this is all hands meeting that was recorded, obtained by the Wall Street Journal. Dang, they be leaking information and company stuff. Man,
Yeah.
let's focus on the task at hand. The task at hand is quite a feat. In the last few years, Boeing has faced a stream of lawsuits resulting in eye-watering payouts. Been lambasted, man, these terms, man,
Right.
by airline CEOs for delivery delays of new craft and begun a layoff process. So yeah, they were doing layoffs, all while negotiating strike action.
Mm,
We spent more time arguing amongst ourselves than thinking about how we're going to beat Airbus. Everybody is tired of the drumbeat of what's wrong with Boeing. I'm tired of it, and I haven't been here that long, he said. I'm tired of this.
mm,
Europe-based rival Airbus is, in contrast to Boeing, running a relatively smoother operation. At the end of October, the Blagnet-based business announced consolidated revenues of up to 5% year on year to 44.5 billion, translation 46.8 billion in US money, and an order backlog of 8,749 crafts. Fast forward. That being said, orders are significantly reduced compared to the same period a year ago. We have an opportunity today to come racing out of where we are and to really improve. According to the Wall Street Journal, CEO warned employees that the business is burning through billions of dollars and cannot turn to investors
mm,
for help. Sheesh. Blank, the CEO added that research and development spending might be delayed. Boeing did not immediately respond to Fortune's request for comment. So, all right, we can move. I'm gonna deselect and let's talk about it. So these are the things that we're talking about. So you kicked us off here on your reaction, then I'll give my authentic reaction on when I hear that as well.
Man, I just again, it's just interesting. I feel like we could probably just keep doing this for days, for weeks, talking about CEOs and the way that they're coming across to their employees. But man, it just I don't know, it just reflects on what we talked about last week in that I view I know it sounds really corny and cheesy, but companies are always saying it's a team atmosphere. We're like a family here. Like, well, could you imagine the parent telling the child, "Hey, stop bitching"? Like that, it just won't go along well. Or going to your wife, or your wife going to the husband, telling, "Stop bitching." It won't work. Like it sounds good in theory, but and like you said, it sounds like we always talk about sports analogies. We analogize it back to sports. We wonder, yo, who's leaking this stuff to the sports? We hear a player said this, a coach said that. Who's leaking this? It seems like it's the same type of scenario. Somebody must have been like, what is he talking about? But I can't say this out loud because that's the CEO. I can't say nothing. So let me hit record, or it's a recorded meeting. Let me share. Oh, I didn't add it the wrong person to the email by accident. I didn't share it to my source. Just keep me as a source, a confidential source. So I think whenever you got leaks like that, it's a symptom, and it's a symptom of a bad situation, and it's indicative of the situation not being rectified. If people feel like they need to leak this type of thing so the public sees it so that they can do something about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Now I hear you. So I'm gonna again. I always like to think of it on both ways. You coming in to turn around the company, and you have people gossiping about the company as he said at the water cooler. That's not good for company culture. And you're already losing billions of dollars. You heard the article. They're losing billions of dollars. They have all these lawsuits. And instead of focusing on how we gonna fix this, there's people just whispering, having conversations. We got a lot of stuff going on, and the one thing we can't afford right now is just more gossip that's not productive.
You can't
Now,
solve gossip with gossip though. It's almost like think about like, okay, cool. He's a stepdad. He's a stepdad. And he's telling the kids, hey, don't be gossiping about the family. We gotta improve the family. But they like, you just got here. We just
yeah,
met you 3 months ago. And you telling us how to be us. You get what
yeah.
I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying 100%. What I'm saying is you can't get better at like first they were brought in as a CEO, so it goes well. Hey, the turnaround king or queen, meaning if you know a man or woman CEO.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes wrong, Brock came in, couldn't, and so it starts with leadership to set the tone to not allow gossip
Mm-hmm.
because that's a toxic culture if folks are just gossiping about the company versus innovating, making things better. If you're there working to collect a check, you should be there adding value, and gossiping is not value. And
Yeah, I don't
also,
like his stuff getting leaked either. I don't like that. That's gossip too. Like I see what he
and
means.
also in the context of a company meeting, imagine so this is
Mm-hmm.
in-house family meeting.
Yep.
And and so this is a behind closed door
Gossiping.
conversation. So it's not like they went out there saying it. They're
Mm-hmm.
in-house saying, hey, look, guys, got like we got to figure this out. We can't just be sitting around here gossiping. What ideas do we have? How we gonna make this company better? So this is normal stuff that is spoken about. It just came out to
Mm-hmm.
the public. And I hear what you're saying of like, oh, you just got here, but maybe they might need to do a return to work to weed out some of these people that's doing all this gossiping because you're creating that top. Have you been a you I've heard you say just I want you to just look at it from the CEO perspective. I remember when you said in one of your previous jobs, one person, they were just so negative at the company, and every time they can get somebody's ear, hey man, I don't like this, I don't like. And then before you know it, they crashed out and left the company. You like, you know what? I wasn't surprised that they left, but bro, you called me and were like, man.
They
And
gone.
so that's the part where I do understand where the CEO is coming from. Coming from, sometimes you have to have those straightforward, raw conversation, and it don't feel good. To your point, being an effective communicator and being mindful on how you navigate some of that, yeah, that's important too. But sometimes when it's just bad, you got to call out like, this is bad. We need to turn this around, and then work through the day to day of like treating people as human, us collaborating, us working together. But you can't like pity pat around. This is a bad
Yeah.
situation. Y'all in here gossiping. I don't know what the hell y'all in here doing. Like, we got to turn this around, or it ain't gonna be
Yeah.
no company. It ain't gonna be no jobs. The
Yeah.
company's gonna go out of business. So, like, when it gets to that level, because most people, when you hear, think about you working at a company and you hear your company losing billions, in your head, you should be thinking, you shouldn't be just only thinking, hey, shit, as long as I get my check on, every 2 weeks, I'm good. You
Mm-hmm.
should be thinking, it's on fire. What can I do to help contribute to help turn it around? Or you
Mm-hmm.
might be even thinking, it might be too late. I'm about to jump ship. I ain't gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell
Yeah.
nobody, but I'm about to jump ship because I'm not an owner of the company and I can see the writing on the wall. I think I'm gonna get up out of here. The company ain't keeping up with what's going on in the economy. They not being competitive. I'm out of here. Or you could stay in the trenches and try to help turn it around and potentially be rewarded handsomely if you one of the folks that are adding value. And so it's always two sides to look at it and
Yeah.
and approach it. It's just your mindset, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. I will say you do have to being loyal. Get, Um,
Mhm.
you just got to make sure as I always pointed back to, you have to operate like a business. The business of you, Barney Inc. Based on how our business is set up, this company that I'm partnering with, is this still in the best benefit for us in this
Mhm.
during this time period? And if so, let's proceed. If it's not, let's go in another direction.
Right. And to your point, so I know we talked about last week about how CEOs can have their own intentions. And so what this situation makes me think about is more along the same, but not with the CEO. I'm curious on what the leaker's intention is. Is he trying to paint the CEO in a negative light? Because something I've seen in that, I kind of watched case studies of these mega huge businesses that have gone under. I know it's bad for the business, but some people make out real nice when a $1 billion company goes under. Because when you're like, hey, they lost 16 billion, some of that money wasn't lost, if you know what I mean. You get what I'm saying? And so
Mm.
is a person who's leaking this information, are they seeing the CEO as someone who really is trying to come in and correct the ship, but they don't want the ship to be corrected? Because a correct ship means that I'm not able to pull the same finesse that I can pull. You know what I mean? And so,
Yes. Yeah. And so so we're talking about this CEO and potentially turning around Boeing, but also think about the return to work. Think about
mm,
We were talking about it from a federal standpoint. I've talked to people that work for the government. I've talked people across the board, people still in there, people not, and they say, "Oh my God, people be in here finessing. They know exactly what to do to not get fired. It's
yeah.
not progressive." I'm not saying it's like that across the board. I'm just when I'm talking to people and they are lifers in the government, they are even saying, "Man, it's so much waste in here, man. We just being so wasteful, man. I'm so tired of working with these people because they just doing the bare minimum." And again, that's not everybody doing the bare minimum, but it's a lot more people finessing because they know they protected it and it's a little bit harder to get fired. And so you done mastered all of the strategic ways to not get fired and like do just enough to not get fired, but it's not
Mhm.
really moving things forward. Imagine if you've leveraged that creativity with truly looking to make something better and maximize things, well, wherever you are, right? It'll get better. But that's just not what I've heard in the government. They just be spending money. But then now when people are looking to address it, going back to your point of like there's lifelong finessers, like we
Mhm.
pretend like there aren't people out there that just be finessing. We
Yes.
gotta, and we just, but how you are in one scenario, you don't think that translate over into your personal life. You trying to finesse in your personal life is only hurting you. That
Mhm.
mindset only hurts you. It does, and sure, it might be hurting. Maybe sure the company's gonna be fine, but understand you're not pushing and being the best that you can be. That spirit of just enough to get by, but finessing, like it's probably showing up in your finances. It's probably showing up in your marriage. It's probably showing up in your relationship. It's probably showing up in your health. It's probably showing up in a lot of other areas in life. And you just have to be very careful because that's like a disease. Like that's like a that sort of mindset. No judgment in it. I just want to stay away from that type of mindset. I don't want to get comfortable in that way. I just want to
Mhm.
me and the people that we're with, we want to just have that growth mindset even when we make mistakes. What are the learning lessons? How can I get better and just keep moving forward?
Right.
It's, and so I'm thinking of it from the CEO's perspective of, hey, look, some things that's not going wrong. Now, I will call this out. It really, when things aren't going, when there's a lot of things going wrong, it is also to include what's going right too. Because a lot of times you can get so focused on the negative part of it, you lose sight of the positive things, and you could potentially build on those positive things as well. And so think about that in your personal life. Maybe you are a finesser. The first step is, am I a finesse? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, you toxic, leave them alone, cut them off." But we never quite look in the mirror of like, on the other side of this, someone having that conversation about me being toxic. Every time they talk to me, I'm trying to finesse. Or every time they talk to me, I'm being negative. Or every time I'm complaining about my wife, I'm complaining about my money, I'm
Right.
complaining about this situation, I'm complaining about a coworker, I'm pissed off at the company. And it just always, you're always in that spirit of thinking like maybe it's actually you.
Mm,
Has that ever, crossed your mind? And so a lot of times people have these knee-jerk reactions when the CEO says this. I'm not saying you, but
mm,
have these knee-jerk reactions. But like look yourself in the mirror as like, am I a high performer? And if you're not, that's okay. Maybe you are in progress. Maybe you are on your come up. But when you become a high performer, you just start to have a low tolerance. Or when you just on that growth phase, a lot of the nonsense you can see through it, and you just realize that those are just excuses. So don't make excuses. If you hear us slacking, hold us accountable. Hey, we're not we everyday people, first generation to do a lot of many things. So along with that, there's going to be a lot of mistakes, and so getting the coaching and the mentorship is really important to continue to level up. And sometimes hearing that you bitching at the water cooler is some of those
mm.
conversations you need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how I tie that around.
Mm.
All right, so
Yeah.
yeah, you got something you want to add on that?
No, that's it for me.
All right. So last one. This segment is broker than you think.
Mm.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it. Oh wow.
So it's saying 13 celebrities, but we're just gonna key in on uh one in particular. All right, so we're gonna focus on Mike Tyson.
Wow.
So Mike Tyson, Iron Mike, was once the most feared boxer in the world, earning over 400 million from his fights and endorsements. How he lost it. Tyson's high spending lifestyle included lavish jewelry, exotic animals, and multiple mansions, combined with legal issues and divorces, drained his finances. He declared bankruptcy in 2003, reportedly 23 million in debt. I'll stop it there. So this is the new segment of Broker Than You Think. So a lot of times people see the 400 million, 350, 200 million, 100 million, 50 million. You're like, oh man, shoot, man, I wish I was making that type of money. And come to find out, broker than you think.
Mm.
When you hear that, what do you, where do your mind go initially? And as just answering, I'm gonna pull up something else. I just had a spare the moment thing.
No, I've heard some of Mike's story. I think that he's a perfect example of like I think we talked about this last week in that you have to be able to separate these celebrities. They're really good at making money, but that doesn't mean they're really good at keeping it. And so I think if you want to, I don't know, if people for the people out there that are like me, when they get some money and it kind of burns a hole in their pocket, if you ever want to, I don't know if you're familiar. Do you know what a mukbang is?
A what?
They call it a mukbang. It's basically when you're on YouTube and you're watching, they'll have like a seafood boil or something, and they just eating it. You probably seen them videos, people eating online.
Yeah.
The people, long story short, people watch these type of videos. I guess I don't know if they're hungry, they want to watch somebody eat. If you want to do that financially, Mike Tyson, he didn't bought, he's made every type of purchase you can think of, fashion, clothes, homes, and you threw in legal your divorce issues. So if you want to figure out if you want to see a way to spend money, a way to run through hundreds of millions of dollars, go track Mike Tyson's purchases. And so again, it just makes me think about that one book I read that said that when you see somebody who has a luxurious item, let's say it's a sports car, we quick to think that, oh, they got money. All it means is that they had money. They had the exact amount they
Mm.
needed to get that car, or they had access to the credit to get that car. It doesn't mean that they got money. They just had access to get that specific thing. They had money. They had whatever. If it was a $200,000 car, they had $200,000. They're driving it now. They don't have it anymore. So
Yeah, man, it's so interesting, man. Like the numbers are the numbers, right? Let me second here. The numbers are the numbers, and a lot of times, like and so I also wanted to talk about the fight that he had.
oh yeah.
Let me
The
see.
uh
So
the
let me see.
event.
Yeah, man, that I almost cussed. Um,
the event. I ain't calling a fight.
pay for the how much? So how much Mike Tyson getting paid for the fight? Estimated
What?
net worth. Da, da, da. I think they said he probably is gonna get paid like let me so I'm just reading off of CBS News Money Watch. I'm not gonna do a screen share, but I just pulled it up real quick, and so I'm just gonna talk about it as we're talking through it. So while Jake Paul making money moves, he done created a production company, all the things, and he just got Mike leveraging his stardom, and he just collecting a check. But Jake Paul playing looked like he was playing a bigger game.
Hmm.
And it just threw me off. I was like, why wasn't it the other way around? Like you got this YouTuber,
Hmm.
like you've been in boxing your whole life. Why weren't you on the ownership side of it? Like that just always baffled me on that. But in any event, they said he was gonna that he'll make roughly about 20 million on that, $20 million on that fight. But here's the thing. You start doing like when you broke and you got stuff going on, you just start doing weird stuff for money. Like weird stuff for money. $20 million
Yeah.
dollars for a fake fight, which could impact your legacy. Now like what would you do when you now bringing it down to the average person, you
Hmm.
know, when you check the check or you upside down, you negative, what type of weird stuff will you start doing for money? You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I started doing something strange for a little bit of change. You start stealing. I don't know if you seen that story where them girls, I ain't trying to bash the ladies, but the girls, they were in California stealing, stealing, and then they in the back of a cop car and they talking about they recorded talking about it's a felony now and
Yeah.
it's gonna mess up their life. And so not to bash on them, I'm not trying to do that, but like then now you resorting to stealing and impacting your future. You just get desperate. And it's all because of the lack of money, the lack of financial literacy. You done got yourself in a hole. You owe all this money. And you don't have anything saved. You don't have anything invested. And it's just a treadmill. And it's to the next thing. It's just as we covered last week, you get a check, you spend a check. You get a check, you spend a check. You get a check, you spend a check. And if you're not careful, time will keep passing, more time will pass before you look up. You like, dang, I'm 60. And you don't have nothing. So look around people in your environment. And if you are in your 20s, fast forwarded by 25, 30 years, look at their life. If you don't make changes, that's going to be you. If you like what
Hmm.
you see, cool. But more times than not, you're literally
Hmm.
looking at the future version of you. So you might be looking like, man, how could they not do this and that? But then you still carrying on the same behavior patterns or lack thereof as it relates to money management, making more money, investing your money over long, consistent periods of time, and just doing productive things and not thinking of trying to be a lifelong finesser or making excuses. complaining about the CEOs, complaining about returning to work, complaining about your relationships, and you are not doing what it takes to improve your situation. So this is the KB Money Show, and we're always going to tie it back to doing more, being more, so you can do more, so you can have more. And it's not necessarily have more stuff, have more investments, have a higher net worth, have a higher income, have a higher quality of life, being able to take those vacations when you've earned it, when you've earned it, being able to pay for that gift for your spouse because you know they've been holding you down, being able to buy yourself something nice, being able to buy that nice car. So this ain't about being frugal, it's about timing, it's about doing the work. As we get ready to close, what is when you hear doing weird stuff, check the check, and anything else I said, what I'll let you get the last words on it.
It just makes me sad of thinking about the Tyson situation because I didn't really think about it in that light. Because you know, we're so it's blue collar. You just think, oh, a check. Oh, I'm happy for Mike. He got a check. I wasn't even thinking about it from the perspective of he should be owning this. He should never have ever even had to put gloves on again. He put in so much work in the 80s and 90s and early thousands. He should never even have to step in that ring again. And I saw it's funny you mentioned Legacy. I'm not sure if you saw the same video where he had like a little girl interviewing him, like 10 years old. And she was like, well, what do you think about your legacy? You know, she asked an innocent question. He turned the dark mic on. I ain't gonna do the impression, but he was like, I don't care about legacy. He's like, it basically said, I don't care about my legacy. I don't care about that. That's selfish talk. That's selfish talk. Why would I care about what people think about me when I'm dead? It's basically the answer that he gave. And at the time I heard it and I was like, that's kind of deep. Okay, that's one way to look at it. But now the more things have played out, you can see, doesn't he? See, how can you care about your legacy when you're broke, or when in your mind you think you're broke, you think you're poor, you you don't care. You think your life, you think that the living world sucks. Why would you care about what happens when you die? You get what I'm saying?
Mm.
Life on Earth sucks for you. So why would I care about life after I'm gone? Why do I care about what people think about me when I'm gone? People think highly of me now and I'm broke. So why do I care what people think about me now when I'm gone? I can see where Mike is at, but it's just sad, man. It's just not. I don't think that's the way to think about it. Like Mike, you're right. He should have owned this whole thing and been the one to reach out to, hey Paul, you want to do something fun, make a little money? But it's sad, man. And then you see that image of him like, or that little mini video of him like crying and stuff in the ring. They taking the gloves off him. Yeah, it's like that really that's that our future. You're gonna be some highly paid chumps. They didn't turn Mike Tyson, the coldest, baddest man on the planet, to looking like that. That's crazy. I don't like that.
Mm. Yeah, man, I'll leave it there, man. Hey, own. Let's own something. Let's own equity. Let's own real estate. Let's own investments. Ownership is the key. We don't talk about that enough in our culture. And I'm gonna say the culture of blue collar, the culture of 9 to 5, the culture of middle class, the culture is just a whole bunch of consumerism. And yes, it's fun to look how somebody had 300 million and went broke. Okay, well maybe you had 2 million and went broke, or maybe you had $500,000 and went broke. Maybe you made 100,000 and went broke. Maybe you had 80,000 and went broke. Maybe you made 50,000 and went broke. So it's all different levels, but at the end of the day, it still equals broke. And we don't want that for you. If you like this episode, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we're gonna keep it coming. We're gonna keep this content coming. And to the next one, we'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Peace.